Hello, Lauren, Alyssa, and Rebecca Barlow. We need to have a little chat. I'm not really a fan of yours, but I came across your website and your little Speak Out project, encouraging Christians to speak out because, in your words, we are living in such a dark world. We are all called to speak the truth in the midst of deception, hope in the midst of darkness, and life in the midst of death. You then go on to say, for example, I'll go first and share one way I have always tried to speak out. It has always bothered me how totally inappropriate magazine covers are today. The women are rarely dressed, and the subject matter is even more disturbing, and it's always perfectly placed at every checkout from grocery stores to hardware stores. So somehow we have gotten into the habit of turning over the magazines as we wait in the checkout lines. I'm pretty sure that people think we're a little crazy. Oh well, we've also gotten into the habit of speaking with the clerks or managers about how we feel. Now, I just want to say that I too agree with you, that Christians should speak out on certain issues. In fact, I would like to tell you a story about people speaking out that was going on while you were passively aggressively whining about seeing an issue of Vanity Fair at your local Piggly Wigglies. You see, Barlow, in Australia there were these women who suffered from eating disorders, bipolar disorder, etc. Many of them were Christians, and sadly to say, they didn't have the money to pay for treatment at decent mental health facilities. Instead, they enrolled in a residential program put out by an American Christian organization that promised them free quality psychiatric care. Sadly, it turned out this organization wasn't exactly honest and ethical in its practices. Many of these women were denied the proper care they were promised and were instead psychologically broken down in a cult-like atmosphere. Their psychological maladies treated with exorcisms and Bible readings. They were made to believe that there was no help outside the program, and that their problems were demonic in origin. And if the organization's treatment didn't work, it was due to the client being in rebellion against God, and allowing the demons back into their lives. The women that turned out okay were put in fancy promotional videos for the organization that had these, this crappy Christian chick rock playing in the background or something like that. However, the women the program didn't work for, they were told they were outside the will of God, and they were simply tossed to the curb without a thought for their future welfare. Sad to say, many women left this program deeply hurt and in a worse state than when they first enrolled. Then something happened. They decided to warn others. They decided to speak out. Later, inspired by the courage of the Australian women, several American women have come forward with stories to share from their time with the organization. Stories that show that what happened in Australia wasn't an isolated incident. They were speaking out. During this time, some folks on the internet, Christian and non-Christian alike, grew concerned about what was going on and decided to raise awareness of the unethical cult. We were speaking out. Shortly after an expose of this organization appeared in the Nashville scene, this organization decided to launch these copyright infringement claims on YouTube videos that were critical of them. Several YouTubers had videos taken down under these charges, and even my old YouTube account was suspended in an attempt to keep us from speaking out. By now, Barlow Girl, you probably know the organization I'm speaking of. I believe you know it very well. After all, you endorse and promote it. I am speaking, of course, of Mercy Ministries. I also believe that you are aware of the abuse scandal, because shortly before my YouTube account was suspended, I sent you a link to the Nashville Scene article.
Now, what I find rather interesting is how on your website you encourage Christians to speak out when they see things happening that are wrong, and yet you openly support an organization who misuses the DMCA to censor people who say what they don't like. It's kind of like irony and hypocrisy had a baby. It's kind of like that. Hey, I got an idea, Barlow Girl. How about I show you some of that forbidden footage?
The reason why I'm stating it's an exorcism is the way that they went about it, by laying hands, pushing you onto the floor. I never saw a psychologist or a psychiatrist while I was there. All I saw were Bible students, Bible college students.
Before I went into ministry, I was studying full-time, I was living independently. My problem was anorexia and to some extent self-harm, but my life was still going somewhere. 9 months later, I came out completely destroyed, deeply impacted from my time there. Just a frightened, scared, damaged child, 3 years on and still unable to work or even study on a full-time basis. It does make me really angry as well, because you just can't play around in psychiatric illness, mental illness, when you don't know what you're doing. I was obviously very distraught, suicidal. I thought, well, what's the point in anything then?
They told me that they were going to put her on the next plane that they could get her on and send her back to Perth. Her life was in danger. I could hear it. She was capable of anything. The anxiety was just well, she was just out of control.
And yet they told my mum that they were just going to put me on a 5-hour flight and expected I'd arrive in Perth alive.
I mean, she's suicidal. She was self-harm.
But she jumped from the balcony of our second floor onto our stone foyer and broke several bones in her back. I didn't see her, but I heard her screaming because I was in the kitchen. And some girls saw her. The worst part, or in my opinion, the worst part is that Nancy came in then and asked us to cover it, like to not tell anyone about it.
Really? She came in and asked you to cover it up?
Yes. She said that the girl wouldn't be coming back, that she had broken bones in her back, and that we should not tell people because it would give the demon or give the devil a reason to work against her, and she wouldn't be able to help other girls if people knew.
Now, I don't bear any ill will against Alcorn for getting our videos taken down. I believe in her doing this. She has proven her critics correct about her. What's even more interesting is that Mercy has done this kind of thing before. One of the things I like to point out to people is that Mercy of America's first response to the Australian abuse scandal was to head over to Wikipedia and edit the Mercy Ministries Wikipedia page to get rid of the controversy section. I also understand that Nancy Alcorn, she calls us a handful of unaccountable voices that have spread lies and slander, and implies that demons are working behind us. This is not true. We are something Nancy Alcorn finds even more terrifying. We are people speaking out. One more thing. Tell Alcorn I say hello.